Every single evening, millions of people chase a ghost called overnight success. They watch a motivational video for 5 minutes, make massive plans for one night, and then return to their exact old habits. This is the story of a poor waste picker, a man the world walked past every single day, and how one quiet hour transformed everything he thought was permanent. Jacob was 30 years old. His mother and father had passed away when he was still a boy. After that, there was no one left to raise him but the streets themselves. He lived alone now in a small rented house. Just one plain room, a bed, a chair, and a window that never shut all the way. Every morning before the sun came up, Jacob walked the streets with a large bag slung over one shoulder, collecting cans and bottles for cash. 10 hours a day, sometimes 12. The bag grew heavier as the day went on. His shoulder ached, then it went numb. His hands cracked in the cold. His back never stopped hurting. People walked past him like he didn't exist. Nobody said good morning. Nobody asked his name. There was no one waiting for him at home either. Jacob had stopped expecting anything from anyone a long time ago. One afternoon, a rich young man stood outside a shiny car, finishing a soda. He saw Jacob coming with his bag and smirked. He threw the empty can on the ground right at Jacob's feet. "Hey," the boy said, laughing. "That's your job, right? Pick it up." A few of his friends laughed with him. Jacob said nothing. He bent down, picked up the can, and dropped it in his bag like it was any other one. The boy grinned. "Good boy." Jacob kept walking. He'd learned a long time ago that silence cost him nothing, and arguing cost him everything. One afternoon, tired from the long day, he sat down on a bench to rest. He dropped the bag beside his feet. A man in a gray coat sat beside him. Clean shoes, calm eyes. His name was Richard. He owned a few cafes around the city. "Young man, why are you so sad?" Richard asked softly. Jacob didn't look up. Sad is just the normal feeling when nobody expects anything from you. "Somebody has to be the first one to expect something," Richard said. "Why not you?" Jacob almost laughed. "Look at me. Look at this bag. This is what the world expects from me." Richard was quiet for a moment. "A bag only holds what you put in it. So does a life." Jacob turned to face him. "You don't know what it's like to carry this every single day." "No," Richard admitted, "but I know what it's like to carry shame instead of a bag. Mine was just invisible." That made Jacob pause. "What do you do after this?" Richard asked. "After the streets, after the bag, after the day ends?" "Sleep," Jacob said. "If the ache lets me." "That's the real weight," Richard said. "Not the bag, the empty hours after it." "I don't have hours to spare," Jacob said. "I have a bag to fill and a body that hurts." "Nobody has hours to spare," Richard said. "People find them anyway. 1 hour. That's all a life needs to start turning." Jacob shook his head. "1 hour won't lift me out of this." "The world wants you to stay exactly where you are," Richard said. "It expects you to quit when you get tired tonight." "Water doesn't cut through stone because it's strong," he added. "It cuts through because it never once skipped a day." He reached into his coat and pulled out a small book. He placed it gently in Jacob's rough hands. "Why would you give this to me?" Jacob asked. "You don't even know me." "Because a stranger once gave this same kind of gift to me," Richard said, "on a night when I was carrying something heavier than any bag." He stood up and buttoned his coat. 1 hour a day, not the whole night. Just one honest hour. That's the price of a different life. Then he disappeared into the streets. Jacob never expected to see him again. That night, tired and doubtful, Jacob opened the book anyway. The first line struck him like a slap. A man does not rise. He is built, one repeated hour at a time. He read 3 pages before his eyes gave out. The words stayed with him, stuck in his chest. The next night, he read again, then the next. 1 hour became a habit he protected like a locked door. He told no one about it. At the recycling yard, the other pickers noticed the book sticking out of his jacket one evening. "What's that, Professor?" one of them laughed. "You writing a novel now?" "Books don't pay rent," another said. "Bottles do. Put it down before it costs you the job you don't even have." Jacob just kept walking, kept reading. Deep down, he understood something simple. People mock the fire they don't have the patience to build themselves. Months passed. He learned how to speak without flinching, how to listen before reacting, how to stay steady when the world tried to knock him over with words. He was still poor, still carrying the same bag on the same shoulder. But something in him had already changed. Not long after, Jacob passed a small coffee shop with a handwritten sign in the window. "Help wanted." He set his bag down outside and walked in. The owner, Diana, looked him over. Worn shoes, rough hands. She almost said no. "You ever worked in a cafe before?" she asked. "No," Jacob said, "but I show up every single day, rain or not. That's the only skill I've ever needed." "All right," Diana said. "Let's see what that's worth." Jacob showed up before opening and left after closing. He remembered regulars by name before they even ordered. He stayed calm when customers were cruel, the same way he'd learned to stay calm with a bag cutting into his shoulder for 10 hours straight. Diana noticed. 3 years later, Diana smiled as she placed the keys in Jacob's hand. "Others offered me more money," she said, "but none of them loved this place the way you do." She agreed to sell him the cafe on terms he could afford, trusting his character more than his wallet. Jacob kept Diana's photo behind the counter. He never once skipped his hour, not even the night he became the cafe's owner. One rainy afternoon, an older man walked in, shaking off his umbrella, gray coat, tired eyes. He ordered a black coffee and sat by the window. He looked like a man carrying something heavy nobody could see. Jacob froze behind the counter. He knew that face. He poured the coffee himself. He walked around the counter and set it down across from Richard instead of handing it over. Then he sat. Richard looked up, confused. "Do I know you?" "You gave me a book once," Jacob said. "On a bench." Richard's eyes widened. "Jacob." Jacob smiled. "I never got to thank you for the spark." Richard looked around slowly. The warm lights, the full tables, the life built from nothing. "You did all this? With 1 hour a day?" "1 hour," Jacob said. "I never once let it burn out." Richard shook his head, smiling. "I gave that same book to 5 different people that winter. You're the only one who ever came back to show me what it grew into." "Most people wait for someone to save them," Jacob said. "Nobody was ever coming for me. So I stopped waiting and started building instead." Richard was quiet for a moment. "That's exactly what the man who gave it to me used to say." Before Richard left, Jacob handed him a fresh cup, refusing payment. "Call it interest," he said, "on a debt I've been wanting to repay for 6 years." Richard laughed. "If you really want to repay that debt, then pass the book on to someone who needs it one day." Jacob smiled and nodded. "I will." Richard smiled and walked away. Your life doesn't change in one dramatic moment. It is built when you protect 1 hour on the nights you'd rather quit. It is built when you keep working while others keep mocking. It is built when nobody is watching and you show up anyway. It is built one small, unpaid, unnoticed hour at a time. One day, the person no one noticed becomes the person nobody could look past. If today feels heavy, remember this. You don't need to fix your whole life tonight. You just need one honest hour, given daily without excuses. If this story meant something to you, subscribe, like this video, and comment 1 hour daily. Send it to someone who needs it today.